Hey there, welcome to another video. I thought I'd do something a little bit different than just doing an Excel spreadsheet. So my profession is I'm a analyst, right? I clean data, I prepare data, I distribute data, or data, right? And I prepare a lot of information. I also look at existing systems, where the information is held, I prepare it, I make adjustments. And what I experience a lot in the different jobs I've had and in the industry is a lot of people tend to blame legacy files, right? So they'll join a new company, for example, and they'll go, here's your training package, here's what you do, here's your job, here's the file we've been using for the last 10 years, here's your Excel spreadsheet. And a lot of the times when I check these files, they're like 10 years old, right? Technology, Excel formats, SharePoint, cloud technology, these things are moving so fast. If you're still using legacy files from 10 years ago, that have been through, let's say, 10 people. It's going to have errors. It may have corruption. You won't even understand how some of the formulas have been put together. And then people, what they do is they just keep using the same thing almost mindlessly. And then when the results come out, it's not right. They start blaming who built it, you know? And when I join new teams or when I get brought in to look at systems and say, Jed, you know, we're really struggling with this. What do we do? Right? This is kind of my mindset going into it. Number one is, actually, I should just go through this, right? First thing I do is you just don't blame, right? Don't go looking for, oh, who screwed this up or who designed this and, you know, why is it the way it is? And let's put something on the chopping block because that's not going to solve the problem, right? You're still going to have the problem. So what you're going to do is you're going to kind of take a step back, right? Your goal is to make whatever it is you're looking at better. Either it's going to impact you or it's going to impact someone else, but your goal is, how do we make this better? So currently I work at Toyota and we have a word called Kaizen. And Kaizen means continuous improvement. But what Toyota does that's different from every other company I've been in is it is drilled into us like every day. Like everything we do, it's like, how do we Kaizen this? You know, do we have a Kaizen activity for this? What's our plan? How are we going to make this better? You know, everything we do. And so when I get a new file, I don't blame the person. I go, how do I make this better? So I start looking at the data. I start looking at, well, where's this information coming from? And I try not to get fancy, okay? Because a lot of the times when people bring me in, it's usually near the end where they've tried everything else. It doesn't work anymore. The results are coming out and they don't understand why. And so they're going, Jed, we need a result fast. So I can't exactly go, well, let me do a 3-month build, which is what a lot of the IT departments do, because you got to go through paperwork and all that stuff. And I hate doing that stuff. So I have to think about what's the quickest solution I can come up with that is not fancy, but it can still solve their problems. Maybe not all their problems, but at least their critical ones. So that's the first thing I do. And then I also trim a lot of the fat. One technique I do is, there's cases where people keep preparing the same file forever and then they send it to this email list of like 30 people. And then when I ask them, well, who uses this and what do they do with it? And they go, I don't know. So one thing you can do is for 1 week or how often you send it, just don't send it. And if no one emails you back complaining, that means no one bloody uses that crap, right? So just don't use it. Right? So just get rid of it and start fresh or start clean. Or if they say, listen, where's that file? Then you can start the dialogue of, I actually only use this one graph. Okay, cool. Get rid of the rest. Okay. And that's kind of a good place to start in terms of what to get rid of the complexity. Okay. And then I go, what's the quickest way I can build this graphic or this line chart or this result? I'll just give you a rough number so you can start your job. Okay. And then when it comes to actually designing the solution, right, this is kind of part 2, is I don't just start designing like in Excel or SQL or databases or MATLAB, whatever it is I'm doing. I don't just start building. What I do is I meet with people and I go, what do you want to get out of what you're asking for? And they'll start explaining all these things, okay? And a lot of times what your job as an analyst is to kind of guide them to actually what they really want. Because sometimes they're not articulate enough to actually say what they want. They know what they want, but you have to try and understand it. So what I usually do is I give them a pen. I go, here's a pen, here's a paper, draw for me exactly what you mean, right? And then from that, I start asking, well, where does that information come from? Where does that information come from? Who do I have to talk to for that? And then I'll make judgments of, oh, that information is going to take us like 3 weeks to grab. That one's easy to grab. All right. That one will just make a rough number assumption. And I just build something really quickly. But I take notes of what I'm going to build later on, because you want to design a really quick solution, give them something to keep using in the meantime. Once they get that first version, you start working on version 2 and then version 3 and each time you release. And the quicker you can build, release, right, the happier your stakeholders will be, which brings me to the next one, which is stakeholders. Okay. If you try and do something like, I'll give it to you in 6 months, and they don't hear from you for a really long time, and then it comes out and it's not even correct, they're not going to be happy with you. You're going to be out of a job or out of a contract. So what you do is you build your first one, because even though you've got your pen and paper, you think you know exactly what they want. There are things that they've left out and they haven't told you. Okay. So you build your first one as quickly as you can, right? A day, a week, whatever it is, doesn't matter how ugly it is. Just build it, release it, give it to them and get their feedback. Because they're going to say, oh, actually, that's not what I meant for that. Okay. Or we're missing this information, or you took the wrong one. You can get to your problems a lot faster. You can get to the things that need to be corrected a lot faster. And if you can get that all ironed out at the beginning, your version 2 is going to be a whole lot better. And what I usually find is, I'm going to try and draw a graph here. Okay. What I usually find is, let's say I had a graph. I'm just going to make up here. All right. At the beginning, when you design stuff, you're going to have a lot of changes. So let's say this is changes and this is time. Okay. At the beginning, let's say this is version 1, version 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. At the beginning, your rate of change is so high. Okay, because you're adding things, you're removing things, you're learning things. You're like, oh, that data wasn't actually what I thought it was. And so it's high. Then you get to version 2 and the changes are less, because there's less things you have to change, and there's bigger things you put in, but there's less of them. Okay. And then eventually the number of changes that you put into it gets less and less until it almost flatlines, and the amount of changes you're doing becomes maintenance. Okay. So you get to this point and it's just maintenance for this period here, right? You're just maintaining it. Okay. Tweaks here and there, but nothing significant. And the quicker you can get to here, the quicker you can get out of that job. Okay. Because as an analyst, what you want to do is you want to build, create a solution, let it mature, let it do the right thing. Then you move on to the next project. If you never get to here, you can never work on anything else. Okay. So the quicker you can go from one version to the next and iron out all these details, the quicker you can release the project, the happier your stakeholders will be, the higher chance that they're going to call you up again when something else goes wrong. And something always goes wrong. Okay. So those are kind of the principles I follow, just in a nutshell, for when I'm designing or doing consultancy or anything like that to solve people's problems. So I hope you got something out of it. I welcome any questions. Please subscribe, give me some likes, let me know what you want. This is a new channel, so I'm still trying to figure out exactly what people want to learn or what things they are interested in, especially if you're like just joining the industry. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.